Hello, I am Dawn Westmoreland, hailing from Asheville, North Carolina, the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains, coming from WPVM FM LP 103, the voice of Asheville. My show is called The Empowered Whistleblower, which is about blowing the whistle on all good things to empower us. In the past, I've always talked about bullying and discrimination and HR matters, and they're so very important, but also what's important is things that are making people's lives better. Experiences, opportunities, guests, and such. I will bring that to you every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, or anytime that you're listening in, because the show is syndicated with the Pacifica Network. So welcome. Today I want to talk about healing. You know, I just had an interview where I interviewed a gentleman, Jeff Wallner, who's up in New York. And Jeff is a comedian, and he's talking about bringing more healing to people through laughter, because we've all become so polarized. You know, we get on social media, maybe we get on Facebook. I think Facebook has got to be one of the worst. And don't get me wrong, there's so many good things about Facebook, because I do a lot of marketing and I also communicate with my family that way too. But then we see these ugly posts, you know, that are political on both sides. And when is enough, right? Because if we're always sitting there, oh, that guy's such an idiot, or that woman's such a ding dong, and whether they are or not, that's not the point. But if we're always putting out that low energy, that low vibration, guess what? We're going to be heavy. We're going to be heavy with energy low. What happens is when we're low with energy, that lower energy, that often keeps us in a fearful state, an anxiety state, a depressed state. And it's time for us all to look at our lives and ask ourselves, you know, am I the person that I want to be? Am I the best version of myself? And I have to tell you, I would like to be even more myself. I don't want to stay where I'm at. And I'm pretty happy where I'm at, because I've worked on myself for many years. And a lot of that's been through healing. So let's get into the healing. Okay, what is healing? It's not necessarily brushing off the experiences that we've had, right? And as a life coach, I was trained 10 years ago that there are no challenges out there. And you may disagree with me that, you know, that's the words that were given to me in life coaching with IPEC training, is that it's opportunities. Life is happening for us, not to us. And I don't hesitate to say that I've been through many challenging times where I've lost my home for speaking up for Black employees, when I worked in the Veteran Affairs, when there was a hiring problem. You know, there was racial discrimination going on. There was nepotism, illegal hiring of family and friends. You know, I've had death threats for speaking up, in doing the right thing when I was in the Air Force. And I would not want that to happen to you, would not want to go through it again. But had that not happened, I would never be the person I am today. So please let that sink in. How do we heal? Okay, first of all, we must be willing to heal. And if you stay in the victimhood, and I am going to be the first to tell you, I have made many mistakes where I felt sorry for myself. And, you know, that was my lowest time, the low energy, fearful, anxiety, depression, you know, on all kind of medication to help me move forward. And that, you know, medication did make a difference, but it's a Band-Aid. We really have to tackle, you know, what's inside of us, what's eating us up. So let's first recognize this, okay? When somebody triggers you, right? Somebody triggers you, they say something and you get really upset. You know, we make that choice to get upset. The thing is that it can also be a gift if you look at it this way, okay? It can be a gift when you say, oh, okay, I have some unhealed business going on me. That's why I got upset. That's why I got triggered. You know, this really was a gift that, you know, I mean, if the person's being mean, it's not a gift. But what I'm saying is the realization that it's a gift, that there's some unhealed business going on inside of you. Maybe something happened as a child. Maybe somebody harmed you, hurt you, betrayed you, even as an adult. But the opportunity is here to say, okay, I'm still hurting inside. It's time to heal. So how do we heal? In my workbook, I talk about healing, and I'm going to get that workbook. It's called Stand Up to Workplace Bullying and Discrimination. I wrote it a couple of years ago because I had gotten through a lot of harassment, bullying, discrimination, and people reached out to me. How did you do it? Well, it wasn't easy. But it took a couple of years because I wrote the book, Everything That I Did to Thrive, not just survive, but to thrive, and then to reach out and help other people who also want to heal. So one of my favorite things for healing is getting in touch with our inner selves. And that inner self could be that creative side. And so many people say, well, I don't have a creative side. Well, I used to think that too, because, I spent 20 years in the Air Force, always thinking analytically, logistically. And then I got out and I thought, oh my God, there's a bigger world than the Air Force. There's more out there. So one of the most funnest things I love to do is garden, and we'll call it horticulture garden therapy. And no matter how much you know or don't know, let's face it, everything's on YouTube, and there's some really good sites out there. There's some good videos and such, and you can always check with your local co-op extension officer and ask for things like that. But the very simple thing of being outside helps to ground you, being in nature, whether it's in a park, it's a garden. And when you decide to plant things, okay, there's a whole lot going on. First, you have to not only know the science of the plant, what are the conditions it needs, how much water, what kind of soil, how long will it take, does it need to be staked because it's going to have a heavy bloom like a peony, for example. And then there's the art, and that's the part I love too, is the art side. Oh boy, hey, I can have a little garden going on, so what are the colors I want? Do I want 4-season appeal? Do I want everything blasting in the Easter time and then the rest of the year is plain? No, for example, I think out every season. In fact, I think out almost every month. So in my garden, and let me remind you, if you didn't know, I do have a horticulture degree. When I retired from the Air Force in 2005, I decided it was time to do something good for me. And getting that horticulture degree was the very best. I did very well in it. But then again, I was also 40 years old. I wasn't a 20-year-old. And I gave my heart and soul, and I loved it. And it has rewarded me over and over and over as I worked in it. And I also brought it into my everyday life today. So getting back into the gardening, the healing. When I get out in the garden, I don't think about, any bills that are coming up. I don't think about things that are coming up that I don't want to deal with. I am in the moment. I am mindful. I am sitting there taking in the colors of the plants, the textures. I'm very tactile. I like cutting flowers, bringing them in. I love cutting flowers and giving them to other people. So constantly I will look at the garden and I'm deciding, what do I want to do to make it more creative? Because when I'm creative, I'm in the best world possible. And I know other people are too when they do that. So what I want, do I want pops of red berries in the wintertime? Do I want to put holly out there? Harry Lauder walking stick is one of the most unique plants, because in the wintertime when it loses its leaves, it's got all kind of twisted branches, and when snow lands on it, it is the most divine, it's most beautiful. In the summertime, I have the echinacea is blooming. The purple coneflower comes out a little bit earlier than the black eye season, but it's just a bust of colors and such. So when you're touching the soil, and I said soil, not dirt, because I have to say that my college teacher said it's not dirt. Dirt is what's behind your ears. It's soil, because soil is made up of many different things. It's got good bacteria in it. It's got silt, it's got sand, it's got clay. all kind of organic matter. And then you have all kinds of things like earthworms that are putting their castings, their waste, and mixing up the soil. And it's so ideal. So horticulture therapy is one of my best ways for healing and to show other people that they can also heal too. And I will be also offering some future courses, so stay in tune. They'll be free too, where I show people how they can heal through horticulture therapy. Another thing is writing. When I wrote that book, that was my second book, the workbook, Stand Up to Workplace Bullying and Discrimination. Now, okay, you may say, oh, I don't know how to write. Well, you know what? I didn't think I needed, any help writing until I did write. My editor said, oh boy, you're too analytical, Dawn. Don't tell, you got to show. And once I started showing people, I had to learn, and I paid for the learning with my time, sometimes money, and my energy. So as I started writing my stories, and my first book was The Empowered Whistleblower, which is my story of standing up against the Veteran Affairs. And it's not only a story, but it's some of the strategies of where I realized I was too much the victim. And I was too much the victim when I had lost so much. I lost my home, my credit scores went south. That was the hardest thing. I'd already gone through a divorce, and it wasn't an ugly divorce, but it's a divorce. And ironically, a couple years later, my ex-husband and I become best of friends. We had needed some personal growth, and we needed time alone to work on ourselves and such. But one thing writing does is it faces you with you. I mean, it's like you are looking in a mirror when you write. And if you are writing about yourself, it could be so cathartic. I can tell you that I almost said rained, but maybe that's a good word. I rained a lot of tears. I did. I shed a lot of tears when I first talked about what happened to me in the Veteran Affairs, because I lost so much money. I lost my position in the Veteran Affairs, an opportunity to retire there. I lost my home, ended up being about almost 80% of my possessions to exist. And I lost all that because I was living at a higher cost of living. So writing about not only surviving that, but realizing that I was better off when I stood up to the VA, because I spoke my truth and holding them accountable. And I did hold them accountable, and I was able to share my story without any kind of non-disclosure agreement on the other side. And I did that, through my documentation. And you can learn more about that, my workbook. Just go to my workbook, Stand Up to Workplace Bullying and Discrimination. So by writing, I got in touch with all my feelings. I had to feel the feels. And sometimes I'm going to tell you, it was not nice. I would just freeze, and I would get so upset because I had to relive. But the thing is, if you bury your feelings, and I'm not a doctor, but I do know this, if you bury your feelings, they're going to come out in your body some way. And there are all kinds of doctor studies out there that 80% of the diseases that we have today are chronic stress related. So by dealing with my feelings, whatever I was feeling, the anger, the disgust, the betrayal, or even the exhilaration of busting through, breaking through, my victimhood, that was so empowering. And I like to say this, every single day, we have that option when we get up, no matter how we feel. If we had a bad night's sleep, my dogs kept barking last night. It woke me up several times, and I was ready to strangle them. Not really. I love my dogs, but yeah, you don't want to be woke up by anything in the middle of the night over and over. But I woke up, and the first thing I thought about was my dogs, and I thought, well, I get to choose the perception that I want to have today. I'm going to do things a little different tonight. I'm not going to be able to let them run around loose in the house, looking out the windows and acting crazy and things like that. They're still young dogs, so I can change that. But getting into the writing, what writing does for you, it anchors your emotions on paper, especially when you're writing about your story. And everybody has a story, and their story is powerful to them. When we wake up, immediately we have these habits of wanting to grab our phone. I will be the first to tell you, I am so awful at it. I get upset with my own self, and I am my own worst bully. I am my own hardest critic, because I expect so much out of myself, high achievements. I've been that way all of my life, but I do it. I scroll. Sometimes I compare myself with others. Big, big no-no. Big, big no-no. But what I've had to do is, change things up, have a ritual. When I get up in the morning, the first thing is I love my coffee. That's my peace, joy, and comfort. It is absolutely what starts my day. That and my dogs. My dogs are generally really close by. They're 2 Cairn Terriers, both under 2 years old. Listen to solfeggio music, which is, there's 9 types of solfeggio. And I love 396 because it helps with reducing stress, fear, anxiety, and such. And that's also another healing modality. So I recommend checking out music therapy, because everybody can be motivated, inspired, healed by music. And that is a fact, a scientific fact. So I will also listen to other types of solfeggio music. And all you have to do is just research it, see if it's for you. Binaural beats. That is when you wear earplugs or headphones, you put it on, and there's different sounds in the left ear than there are in the right. But what happens is it makes your brain waves change. Like you can listen to binaural beats that raise your vibration, raise your energy, make you happier, or it might slow you down, make you more peaceful or less fearful. Now, if you're not familiar with it and you're questioning it, do the research. I mean, I'm a big researcher. I mean, that's how I got through, 4 degrees. And I always tell people, if you didn't know it, I am a total nerd, a geeky nerd, and I'm so proud of it because I like learning, and I want to continue to learn. My grandmother started college when she was almost 50 years old and got her PhD in child psychology. I mean, we're never, ever too old or too young, to learn. So check out music therapy. Now, another thing too is being good to our bodies. I just had a massage this past week, local. It was at the WNC massage school, and the students have to get so much practice. And I've had nothing but great experiences there. One of the things that massage does is helps to relax you, to loosen up tight muscles, because we don't realize it. We hold on tight to our emotions. We clench our muscles and our jaws and our shoulders, and the next thing we know, we're in a lot of pain. So it's important. Acupuncture is another one. Check that out, because I have had so much actual pain relief, physical pain relief. And if you're sad or depressed, which I've been there, and I have been full of anxiety, from horrible things that have happened to me, we hold that inside and we got to let go of it. It's like an energetic signature. If it stays in you, like anger, the anger that you're so friggin' mad, of something that happened to you in the past. And then look, the next thing you know, you have a chronic issue. When I got out of the Air Force, just about almost 19 years ago, when I retired, I immediately, within the first year, at 40 years old, and I should have been in the prime of my life, I ended up having a disorder, disorder, whatever you want to call it. It was called Graves' disease. And then it was pretty serious. It's an autoimmune disorder that affects your thyroid, and it overstimulates the thyroid. And if you know anything about the thyroid basically regulates the whole body. Talk about serious. I'm 5'10". I'm not a little girl by no means. And I end up losing about 40 pounds before the doctors could figure it out. And I always wondered, why did I get this disorder? Why did I get it? At age 40, it affected every single thing. It affected my mood, because it does affect your mental health. It affected my health. I couldn't get out in the heat. I couldn't stand to get overheated. I became sick. I become anxious. I become moody, grouchy, and it had to be regulated. I ended up being on a medication called methimazole, which slowed down the thyroid. Now, yes, that did make a difference. And I have been on it for, I want to say about 18 years, that medication. And then when I started working on healing myself, I also had to forgive myself for all the dumb things I've ever done, ever said, ever done to other people, done at any kind of experience or event or anything like that. I had to forgive myself for making stupid choices, because when I hated myself for those choices, that was low energy. It wasn't healing. Blame, shame, victimhood, they are at the lowest level of energy, and you don't want to be there, because when you're there, you don't get healing. When you're there, you also attract more of what you're putting out. So think about it, when you watch the TV news, and I'm not knocking the news, because there are important things that are said, but when you see that it's just negativity, this person got shot tonight, this person died tonight, this person had this horrible accident, and you just see it over and over and over, think about it. What kind of mood does it put you in? Does it put you in an anxious mood, like, oh my God, I need to, buy more security cameras or more locks for the house? And then think about, like, my friend Jeff Wallner, who's a comedian, and he's healing the world through his laughter and through laughter. Have you ever watched something, maybe a comedian show, where somebody just said something that was so ridiculous, funny, no matter what was going on in your world? It just shifted you. It's like being at a funeral, and it's always sad losing a loved one. Oh my gosh. And if you're like my family, we only seem to all get together when there's a funeral, but just let somebody start talking about something funny that the person who had passed away had done, some of the silly things that they've done. And all of a sudden you notice people shift, because laughter is healing. Laughter, we let go of our apprehensions, we let go of the depression, we let go of the anxiety, and we're just there in the moment, and it's just so much fun. And then it shifts, and then it's so addictive, because then guess what? Then somebody else jumps in. Oh, I remember when she did this and when she did that, and it shifts, and it what it's doing is the energy rises. It goes from very low energy to rising energy. And don't you think that's really what your loved one would want? They don't want you being sad for them. They want you to have a good life, a joyful life. So really, really important to discern, meditate, pray, whatever is your choice. What can you do today? What is the next best step of empowerment for you today? If you have something that needs to be healed within you, and believe me, we all do, even I do, and I even know what it is. That's the good thing, is I know exactly where I need to work on my healing. Then the best thing to do is start looking at things that can help you heal, not band-aids, not just put a band-aid over something, not just say, oh, time heals all, try to bury the problem, try to pretend it doesn't exist, because, oh boy, does it ever exist. Like I said, it is an energy signature in you, and it is not going away. And then you start adding it up, more and more, that energy signatures that are not good. Oh my, the next thing you know, don't be surprised that you're going through some health concern, because again, doctors say chronic stress will bring out the worst in your health. So I've shared with you a little bit about my past, and I would like to offer this to you. If you are having a hard time with any kind of, being tougher in a good way, resilience, trying to move through, breakthrough, reach out to me. I've been a coach for over 10 years. I've also been trained over 9 years ago as a consulting hypnotist. So I do work with people doing what most people call hypnotherapy. We just can't say therapy unless we're a clinician, but it's the same exact training. It's just that the North Carolina laws forbid us to say therapy because I'm not a therapist, but it is the same training. I've worked with people to help them become more resilient. I've helped people to be able to stand up to other people that mistreated them. Also, too, I will be speaking, getting out there, talking about healing, but healing and what it can bring, resiliency. Resiliency is a beautiful thing because life is going to happen. And unfortunately, and I'm not going to focus on the negative, but it is out there. When we see, people just separating, they get so ultra vigilant, ultra sensitive because this person voted for this person. Oh, I can't be friends with him anymore, or I can't be friends with her anymore. We're separating more and more and more, and that's not for the common good. The common good is us coming together because, what I like to always say is that every single person out there has good in them. Just because they voted differently than you, pray differently than you, think differently than you, well, you know what? They're a child of God, and that's just the facts. We're not all supposed to be the same. And out of everybody, there is common good, there is kindness, there's goodness, there's empathy, there's so many good things that can bring us together. And that's what it's all about. So if you'd like to reach out to me, one of the best ways I like to reach out is get on LinkedIn. I'm under Dawn Marie Westmoreland. That's WESTMORELAND. Send me a connection. If you'd like to have a complimentary 20-30-minute talk with me just to see if I can support you, help you if we're a good fit, again, you can send an email to consult, CONSULT, with WITH, Dawn, my name, BAWN, @gmail.com, and just say you'd like a complimentary 20-30-minute talk with me. Now, if I'm not a good fit, I always believe in being ethical and, saying, I don't think we're the best fit or I can help you. I will absolutely give you a reference, resources out there. And I don't hesitate when people are in worse shape than what I can handle, and legally work with. When I say about that is somebody has deep, deep depression where they need a clinician's help, I don't hesitate to suggest they may want to look into mental health support, because that is the right thing to do. As coaches, we need to be honest, ethical, with good high morals. When we're not, and I've never not been a good coach. Excuse me, let me say that right. I've never not done the right thing. I believe in being a good coach. I've had to tell people I can't work with them, that I believe that their issues need a clinician. They need mental health support, because I could do more harm than good. And it also comes down to what's the right thing for that person. So I leave you with this, my friends. No matter where you're at in life, you're worthy, you're deserving, and you have more personal power in you that you absolutely have not tapped on. You may not know that. And sometimes you do need a mentor, somebody that can support you, help you. Please reach out to me if I can help you. Again, if I'm not the right help for you, I know a lot of different coaches out there, mental health professionals out there that I'd be happy to give recommendations and referrals to. So every day, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I choose to be empowered. Ask yourself, what's the next best step that you can do to be empowered? And right now, we need a lot of healing in this world so that we can have a better world. Till next time, I will see you, and I wish you all the best. Stay empowered.